Welcome to section 5 of our project risk management knowledge area. Now in this section we're going to be discussing planned risk responses. Right now we have identified the risks in our project. We have been able to ascertain the worthiness of the risk in terms of the probability and its the significance level, and then we've also assigned values to our risks by actually giving it visualization, making it more relatable. So the next is responding to the risks. How do we respond? How do we plan how to respond to the identified risks? So that's what this section is all about. Let's jump in now. Now let's look at an overview of the planned risk responses. Now planning risk responses is a critical step in effective risk management. In this section, we'll delve into the strategies and actions that can be taken to address and mitigate potential risks. So we'll talk about risk response. It's about how we can reduce, or mitigate the adverse effects, on the project outcomes. That's what our response plan will be focused on. The focus on developing a proactive approach to either minimizing the probability of a risk occurring or reducing its impact on project objectives. So believe you understand that, right? The response planning is all about finding a way to minimize the possibility that the unwanted event is going to occur, and then peradventure if they occur, we're also looking into the impacts it can have on project objectives. And by the end of this section, you should be able to understand the purpose and importance of planned risk response process, identify the inputs, tools and techniques, as well as the output of this process. Learn how to develop the right proactive approach to identified risks. Alright, so what are the objectives of this process? Firstly, to develop risk response strategies that align with project objectives. So you need to develop risk response strategies. How are you going to respond? On what occasions? Identify and plan actions to implement risk responses. So you're also going to identify and plan actions to implement risk responses. Now lastly, enhance the overall project resilience to potential risks. So you have to ensure that your project is turbocharged, ready to withstand any threats from external environment or from the external environment. Now, what are the inputs in this process? Firstly, you have your risk register. And this is a comprehensive understanding of identified risks and their characteristics. Risk analysis results. Now, the information on this quantitative and qualitative analysis of identified risks. Project documents, additional project information that may influence the selection of risk response strategies. Okay, so that's that for that. Let's move on. So what are the tools and techniques that are required in this process? We have strategies for negative risk or threats. Avoid, mitigate, transfer, accept. So here we'll be able to determine appropriate actions for each identified risks. That's the first thing actually. Strategies for positive risks or opportunities. Exploit, enhance, share, accept. Devise plans to capitalize on opportunities and reduce threats. Okay. Contingent response strategies. These define actions to be taken if a risk event occurs. Okay. So let's move on to the outputs of this process. So what are the outputs of this process? Risk response plan, a documented strategy for mapping and responding to identified risks. A documented strategy for managing and responding to identified risks in the organizations. Updates to project documents. Now this brings about changes to project plan and documents reflecting the risk strategies. Okay. Now some takeaways from the plan risk responses. Risk response planning involves developing strategies for addressing both negative and positive comments. The goal is to minimize the potential impact of risk on project deliverables. Okay. Contingency response strategies provide a proactive approach to handling unforeseen events. Okay. Now, as a project manager, you need to develop comprehensive risk response plans in order to ensure that your project is well prepared to navigate the uncertainties that may arise. Definitely, uncertainties are going to arise, but how well prepared are you for the outcomes of those analysis? Okay, so that brings us to the end of this section. I'll see you in the next section.